Hari
Hari
Om.
Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Okay, let's start.
Hari Om.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति 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 Okay, we'll continue from where we left off. Welcome back. We were in the middle of discussion of the theory of reincarnation. In the last portion of perhaps the chapter, we've been having multiple discussions. So, I'd like to start with any question. Are there any questions?
So, what is exactly causal body?
Causal body is simply a name given to your vasanas. So, your sukshma sharira, which you are aware of, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your likes, your dislikes, your sukshma sharira, what you loosely term as your personality. What you loosely term as your personality, that itself has a source that is coming from somewhere. So beyond your subtle body, beyond your personality, lies its source. So the name given to that source, where do your thoughts come from? Where do your feelings come from? Where does your personality come from? It comes from your vasanas. Very beautiful terminology, because vas literally means scent. So it comes from your scent. It comes from something invisible but noticeable, right? Scent is invisible. You can't really see it. It's just an indication, right? So meaning to say that it's very subtle. It's not easily perceived. You have to you have to be a very sharp intellect to perhaps ascertain what a person's vasanas may be, could possibly be, because they're not visible, they're unmanifest. Vasanas by nature are unmanifest, right? So so beyond your subtle body lie your vasanas, and the name given to that collective sort of body of vasanas is called the causal body. And interestingly, it's called causal body in English for a reason, because it is the cause of your personality. It's the cause of your
Existence.
individuality, right? And yes, on a philosophical level, it's the cause of your birth. It's the cause of your incarnation. Because you have vasanas, you have been born. As you slowly evolve on the spiritual journey is nothing but the dissolution of your vasanas, the dissolution of your thoughts and desires, the dissolution of you, me, I, ego. So as you dissolve your vasanas, the more evolved you are, the less and less desires you have, the less and less reasons you have to incarnate. So your causal body is your uh, body of vasanas. Of course, we've studied beyond that. Vasanas are of two types, prarabdha and sanchita. Prarabdha are those that need immediate manifestation, immediate fructification. They are the immediate cause of perhaps the most pressing or urgent manifestations. And the rest is your sanchita vasanas, which may or may not manifest depending on the choices you make, depending on the decisions you take in life, right? Based on certain decisions you took in your childhood, your life could have been very different. Based on certain decisions you took in your adulthood, your life, your environment, the circumstances could be very different, right? Some things were not controllable, some things just had to happen. That's prarabdha. And some things by your choice were either caused or averted. So prarabdha is a set of vasanas for whom the ball has already been set. So you may think, oh, prarabdha, that means it's controlled by something else beyond me. No, prarabdha is a cause you have already put in. Once you get into the airplane, you don't have a choice. Oh, we are flying over. Suppose you're flying from Calcutta to Delhi. Oh, we're flying over Lucknow. I had to stop in Lucknow. Please drop me here. You don't have a choice. You've already done the work, got into the plane. Now, no choice. It's already set in motion. So it's a matter of time before you reach Delhi. But if you're still at the boarding gate, you can make up some excuse. So if the cause isn't that far fructified, then you can always change course, right? That's sanchita. But prarabdha is you've already got onto the plane. The only way you can get off the plane halfway now is nowadays what is happening in these airlines, bomb threats last 1 week. I have a bomb. Don't say that ever, please. You get into unnecessary trouble. So prarabdha and sanchita, and they are collectively called your causal body because they are the cause of your personality, right? So it's this. I refer to it less because we're not that familiar with it. But in essence, again, according to the theory of reincarnation, you move from one incarnation to another, carrying your causal body. Your causal body creates the subtle body, right? And assumes and takes up an appropriate gross body. So the theory of reincarnation is it's this causal body moving from one physical form to another physical form, to a third physical form, to a fourth physical form through incarnations. And the mover is the vasanas of the causal bodies. What are the most immediate, urgent vasanas? What is the prarabdha? That will determine which incarnation you will take, what body you will assume, what environment you will.
So what determines our gross body? Like somebody is
That's why
blind or somebody has.
See, there's no, see, we always seem to look at it from a perspective that, oh, they got this body because they deserved it. Don't look at it only from that perspective, right? Of course, there are correlations and in this chain of causation, right? It's just another thing that's happened. In this chain of causation is just another thing that's happened. But as I said, the most immediate,
And I meant to say, like you said, that our causal body determines our subtle body.
correct.
So that's why my question was, what determines our gross body?
In fact, when you were asking me the question, I was answering that precise same thing.
Sorry.
That your gross body is chosen by your most immediate vasanas that require manifestation, your prarabdha. See, you are asking what determines where I go to next? See, you may have 20 things you may want to do through the course of the day, but the most urgent you will do, 9:15 बजे market खुलेगा, you'll be in front of the TV. The most urgent, prarabdha, right? So you have 20 odd,
Priority.
but they have a priority to them, right? So that priority, and it's not just one or two, right? It's sort of numerous. So it's hard to, sort of make a one-to-one correlation. But what he says in the Bhagavad Gita is precisely this, right? He says, if you prioritize the spiritual journey, and what is the spiritual journey? The spiritual journey is nothing but you've taken up a higher desire and you're eliminating many lower desires, right? So you're simplifying that, the forces that push you towards the next experience, right? One single strong desire is eliminating many numerous, weaker desires. So you're giving one single desire, so a single direction, and a lot of propensity, right? A lot of focus and effort. So go back to the the diagram we saw, right? I'm just going to put it up on the screen.
So, should I not think this way that he has asked?
Omji, one second. So think of this diagram, right? There are many forces acting on you, making you move in the direction of R, right? But you're making one single desire, your spiritual desire, the most important, the most paramount. What that is doing is that is eliminating or making the others almost ineffective. If you had one very strong force pulling, say, in the direction of F7, you see that F7, right now it has a certain direction and a certain intensity. The intensity is designated by how long the arrow is, right? If you had F7 being very strong, that R would actually bend further and further towards F7. It's like, you have 20 people pulling you back, but you are moving forward with a very strong, with a lot of power, right? So despite all the other forces, your very strong desire will move you in a certain direction. So in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, if you live your life with that conviction, with that spiritual conviction, you will be born in an environment of wise sages. You will be born in an environment conducive because you have chosen it. Not because there's some third entity, there's some God that is saying, oh, you should get it. No, you have chosen it. You are cultivating these thoughts in your life right now. Suppose from age, I don't know, many people ask me, oh, now I'm past 50, past 60. What is the point of me studying this? Now it's too late to think about Vedanta. No, it's not. You still have 20, 30, 40 years to live. Omji still has about 50 years to go. Bhishma Pitama was 140 minimum, I think.
Yeah.
So Omji will cross that, hopefully. Yes? So Omji is so all the thoughts you are cultivating from now until the next 30, 40, 50 years, how many ever, that's going to have an impact on the next. Hope maybe you'll get enlightened this lifetime, hopefully. Let's see. All depends on your
इस
intensity.
थॉट के ऊपर मैं एक चीज बोलना चाहता था.
हाँ
इन्होंने
जी,
कॉजल बॉडी पूछा.
हाँ जी.
तो देखिए कबीर का दोहा है, शब्द साधना कीजिए. शब्द के ऊपर जो हम जितने भी शब्द हम बोलते हैं, it has a deep meaning. Every shabd has a deep meaning. We never concentrate on the meaning of the words. आपने जब जवाब दिया बिल्कुल करेक्ट था कि causal body is the body which is created by you. मतलब शब्द जैसे आपने causal बोली, cause क्या है उसका? आप खुद हैं. cause तो आप खुद ही हैं जो तभी causal body बनती है.
मैंने कहा कि वो आपका कॉज है, तो ऑफ
वही
कोर्स
cause,
आप
हाँ,
कॉज
वही.
का खुद कॉज
You are the
और वो
creator.
आपकी कॉज भी है. इट्स साइकिल.
Yeah.
A past version of you has created the causal body, and the causal body is the cause for the present version of you.
Absolutely. यही मैं बोलना चाहता था.
Hanji. Correct. So if you have a very, so it all depends on what kinds of thoughts you are cultivating with what intensity. What is Shraddha? Shraddha is nothing but intensifying consistently one particular thought. What is the wonderful advice of the Lord in chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita, for those of you who have studied it? Anyone remember chapter 9, verse 22? The fulcrum of the Bhagavad Gita. The middle point. Nobody? Time to start Bhagavad Gita again.
So can you repeat?
Chapter 9, verse 22.
अनन्य
Someone got it. Yeah.
और जो अनन्य भाव से मेरे में स्थित हो
संस्कृत पहले श्लोक पढ़िए. अनन्यास चिंतयन्तो माम ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्. अनन्य चिंता, no other thought. What is अनन्य चिंता? अनन्य चिंता is पूरे श्रद्धा भाव से, पूरे कंसिस्टेंसी से आप सिर्फ एक ही डायरेक्शन में सोच रहे हो, आप सिर्फ एक ही डिजायर को प्रमोट कर रहे हो. अनन्य चिंता.
टोटल फोकस.
It's prioritizing that one and one desire alone. That's how you give direction to your life. Forget spiritual life. Even in the material world, how does someone gain success? They almost become obsessed with one and one thing, and they consistently do that. Ananya Chinta. He says, then you are guaranteed Yoga Kshemam Bhahamyam. You're guaranteed success and enlightenment. You're guaranteed material and spiritual progress. So when we study the Bhagavad Gita, we'll study this in detail. But your next incarnation is being chosen by you. If you don't have a strong, focused Shraddha in any particular direction, then you will be just a khichdi. You will be a sum total of all the various desires you have, and we all have various desires. But if we give our life a direction, if we choose very strongly one particular direction, if we have conviction in one particular area, that begins to determine the shape our life takes by our own efforts, right? And of course, that change takes time. But if you keep painting a blue wall yellow, or if you keep painting a yellow wall blue, keep painting, every day put another coat, eventually that color will change. That's the concept. Okay, so we'll continue from, if there are no questions, we'll continue from where we left off in this section. We were talking about the sun and its reflections. I'm just gonna,
without the cognition of the law.
Yeah. So we ended with this culmination of the cycle of birth and death. So the spiritual path is nothing but focusing all your desires into one single desire for spiritual evolution and for enlightenment. What's happening? You're shedding vasanas, you're eliminating vasanas, you're simplifying your karma, as it were. And then eventually in the depth of meditation, in the culmination of the spiritual journey, you drop that very desire to enlighten also. You're left with no desires, no vasanas. No vasanas means no cycle of birth and death, no reincarnation, enlightenment. But up until we reach that point, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. We'll be born, we'll grow, we'll age, we'll grow diseased, we'll die. This is not the first time you have come. This is not the first time you will go. I'll see you again next time. Until and unless you make a choice to end this cycle.
ends, he attains spiritual enlightenment. Without the cognition of the law of causation and a clear understanding of the consequent theory of reincarnation, you could run into trouble. Here is a true story. A lady in an advanced age developed cataract in her eyes. She was losing her eyesight. At that time of her life, a misfortune befell her. Her only daughter expired. She was terribly upset. She lost all her interest in the world. She would not meet anybody or go anywhere. Meanwhile, her cataract ripened. She was practically blind. Her family and well-wishers appealed to her to undergo surgery. She refused to do so. She chose to deny herself eyesight for the rest of her life. She would say, "Am I to restore my eyesight to gaze at emptiness? The beauty in my house is gone. I have nothing more to see." They were all confused and did not know how to persuade her to go through the surgery. They approached a Swami, a sage, for help. The Swami met her personally. The wise man explained to her how the resultant desire works. Remember, you are entertaining a powerful desire not to see the world. The sage said to her, "You are old. Death may overtake you any day. If you continue to deny yourself eyesight, there is a fair chance you will be born blind." The lady sprang to her feet and went through the surgery same day. The significant part of the episode is that a person could be born blind even though he does not desire it. The resultant of all his desires becomes the cause leading to that effect. Therefore, it would be in your interest to scrutinize at all times the type of desires you entertain. Avoid negative thoughts and desires. Try to turn them positive. If you practice that, you would not be a victim of self-inflicted complications in life. Your life would then become more meaningful, powerful. Imagine a person who is brutal.
So this is Yashoji, you just asked about why is a person born blind? And this is one of many examples. My point being that in this incarnation, you don't have access to, forget the past incarnation. Even in this life, do you have access to all the thoughts and actions you took 5 years ago also? Apohanam, we forget. Very little do we remember about the chain of causation. You don't remember 5 days ago what you did that led to a certain causation. But that doesn't mean causation is not happening. Right? So causation is complex, but it exists. So every cause, every thought you're putting in either has an immediate or a subsequent effect. A seed you sow today may not sprout immediately, it may sprout in the future. So first of all, it's not right to theorize, oh, why is a person born blind? Especially theorize, oh, they deserved it. They must have done something in there. See how, the worst interpretation of karma is they deserved it. They should have been born blind. They must have poked someone else's eyes in their previous life. So now the God poked their eyes. Please don't get into that. Don't get into that line of thinking. If at all, the least you can do is have empathy. That's it. A wondrous sense has not been given. So The least you can do is just be conscious of it. Don't tell a blind person, oh, do you see that? That'll be very cruel. Half the times, we're not conscious. And unknowingly, we say or do something. Especially if you have a deaf and dumb person in front of you, unknowingly you will speak and you'll forget, oh, they can't actually, or you have to speak very slowly for them to follow your lips if they've. So be conscious, that's about it. Nobody's asking you to have pity. See, we either go into blaming others, or you deserved it, or we have weak pity. No. If anything, the Paralympics are a great example of incredible things people even with so-called disabilities can do. Anyone watch the Paralympic Games? A wonderful archer from India. She has no hands.
Great.
With her shoulder. I think Renu Devi, her name is, right? Renu Devi. My apologies, I'm not remembering the exact name. She's shooting bullseye from 50 meters away without arms. If we even get it into the huge circle with arms, that even 10 meters away, it's people with eyesight disabilities are doing shooting. Incredible. So there's no need for weak pity, but also don't go into that concept of blame game. Because, see, karma is not a law of punishment, okay? All it's simply saying is you are choosing, you're making choices which have consequences, right? And it's not one choice for one consequence, it's a resultant choice. So at most, be conscious of your thoughts and desires today. Avoid negative thoughts. Avoid thoughts which may lead to results you cannot cognize or you cannot control.
So but we say whatever you sow you reap. तुम जैसा करोगे वैसा मिलेगा. We tell our kids like that. So then we are trying to create that. That you think it's not correct that we try to create that thing in that child.
Create a sense of responsibility. What you sow, you will reap. What you sow, you will reap. I'm saying, having reaped something, don't try to theorize what exactly they sowed. But the fact is, today, what you sow, you will reap. So be conscious of what you sow today, what you think today. The resultant of your desires may lead to a cause, becomes a cause, leading to an effect you may not have particularly wanted. Right? So scrutinize at all times. That's what he's saying. Scrutinize at all times the types of desires. Avoid negative thoughts. Avoid thoughts which are dismissive, which are nihilistic. What is this lady doing? She's becoming nihilistic because of one particular desire right now, because of one particular attachment right now, which was shattered. And lots of attachments will be shattered. But that's what we unknowingly do. Something doesn't work out. A relationship doesn't work out. We turn absolutely negative. We become strongly opinionated about what we want, what we don't want. So Vedanta's message to you is avoid negative thoughts. First of all, be grateful for what you have, not what you don't have. Remind yourself of what you have and not what you don't have. Second of all, surrender to the march of life. Nature has a beautiful algorithm. It is taking you from environment to environment based on your resultant desire. So long as you...
Can we think this way? I'm just loudly thinking. जैसे ग्रॉस वर्ल्ड में एक मेटल का पीस है कि आप कार बना लो, कुछ भी बना लो, जब वो स्क्रैप हो जाती है फिर उसको मेल्ट करके फिर कुछ और बना लो, ये कुछ और बना लो, फिर मेल्ट होके फिर वो उसको ये कर लो, शेप कर लो, वो कर लो. ये तो वो ग्रॉस बॉडी में. लेकिन आत्मा की जो शक्ति है उसके साथ चित्त की जो वृत्ति है, जिसको इसमें वासना भी है, सब कुछ है, तो इट इज अटैच्ड विद दैट व्हिच इज मोर सटल. Now it is the subtle which is going, and subtle only which carries the weight of that chit ki vritti, that will make the body,
Yes,
which we inherit, which
correct.
we जो भी कुछ है, जो नया जन्म में है, वही तो लेके जाएंगे, चित्त की वृत्ति. मेरी
Correct.
अपनी ओपिनियन है. आई कैन बी, यू
नहीं
कैन.
तो आप क्वेश्चन क्या है? आप कुछ
नहीं, मेरा क्वेश्चन यही है कि हमारी जो वासना के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं ना,
हाँ जी,
वासना के साथ ही चित्त की वृत्ति के साथ वासना डूबी हुई है. चित्त की वृत्ति
वासना वासना आपकी चित्त की वृत्ति बनाती है.
बनाती है, वही लेके जाती है.
आपकी चित्त की जो वृत्ति है वो आपकी वासना से ही तो आती है. चित्त की वृत्ति इज वासना.
दिस इज
योगा
कैरिड.
चित्त वृत्ति निरोधः. The
नहीं, जो
first
उन्होंने पूछा है बीज क्या है,
the
जो बीज
first
के बारे
shloka
में
of
पूछा है ना,
the Patanjali the first shloka of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha means योग से आप इन चित्त की वृत्तियों को इरेडिकेट करोगे, इलिमिनेट करोगे. तो योग का यही गोल है, योग का यही पर्पस है. थ्रू योगा कर्म, not only hatha yoga, कर्म, even Patanjali will agree, not only hatha yoga. हाँ, यम, नियम, आसना, प्राणायाम, प्रत्याहार, all of them, ashtanga, right?
अष्टांग योग.
Dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So all 8 limbs of it. So the purpose of the limbs of yoga are to help you eradicate your vasanas, are to help you eliminate the cycle of birth and death to attain enlightenment. That's the purpose. Yoga is nothing but a name for the spiritual path. So I can't. So going back to what I was saying, develop an attitude of gratitude. Maintain an attitude of gratitude. Develop a spirit of surrender. Nature is working meticulously. Don't turn antagonistic about the world. Don't think of yourself as a victim. See, this is one of the very few religions which will ask you, don't make yourself a victim. It was very easy for Lord Krishna to tell Arjuna, you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim. Fight for your right, fight for your right, fight for your right. We wouldn't need the Bhagavad Gita. We would just say, don't you know what these Kauravas did to you? Don't you know that they burned down your palace? They did so much bad to you and your brothers. They insulted your wife. That one would have worked, if nothing else. They could have stirred emotions. He could have made Arjuna look like a victim, feel like a victim. No, it doesn't help. So don't entertain antagonistic thoughts towards nature. There's an inexplicable chain of causation that has led you to your situation today. You may not be able to understand, but a past version of you, multiple past versions of you have made choices that have collectively resulted in your present. So don't develop these antagonistic thoughts. Don't think of yourself कि दुनिया मेरे ही खिलाफ है. No, take control of your life today. Be constructive, and nature will help you in that constructive direction. So if you practice that, you will not be a victim of self-inflicted complications. Your life will become more meaningful, more purposeful. It will gain a positive direction, right? So karma is complex, my friends. Karma is complex. But what you have control over is the thoughts and desires you cultivate today, right? So be conscious of that.
Bloodthirsty. He develops a passion for destroying, killing. He becomes a dangerous killer. The society does not allow him to manifest his destructive nature. The law prohibits it as well. His desires are frustrated. The frustrated desires must find their way out. This is not possible in his present embodiment environment. Hence, his resultant desire will forge itself into an appropriate embodiment for fulfillment. Thus, his own desires could possibly cast his reincarnation as a tiger or a lion, wherein the embodiment and environment becomes befitting, conducive for fulfilling those desires. No doubt, a human being cannot easily fall into an animal incarnation. A human possesses fine emotions and subtle thoughts which animals lack. Those thoughts and desires in him would strongly influence the resultant desire towards human incarnation. Notwithstanding it all, he could still force himself into a lower species by persistently indulging in such destructive passion.
So someone had asked, I think, I don't know if it was Prachi or someone had asked, can you be born as a different species? So I think I've said precisely this, that it's highly unlikely, because there's a lot to you as a human than just one particular action, one particular desire. There's a lot of subtle thoughts and subtle emotions, complex thoughts and emotions. I won't only say subtle. I won't only say, it's not necessarily only positive, but complex thoughts and emotions, which are not possible to cater to through an animal incarnation, right? But it's unlikely, but it's theoretically possible. If you become very, very, very obsessed with something that is animalistic, then you're forcing nature to land you in an environment that will cater to that. So you might be born as an animal. What do animals think of? They think of waking up, eating, playing, fighting, mating, sleeping. Finished. That's it. If you live with animals, you'll realize that. You may ask, many humans are also only doing this. They're just eating at fancy places, and spending unnecessary money. It's not that. There's a human have many complex thoughts and emotions, complex desires, which are not possible only with animals. So it's highly unlikely, but it's possible. I mean, it's theoretically possible if you have a particular very strong desire. So I hope we've discussed in detail the complexity and the process of reincarnation, of the theory of reincarnation, right? It's not a law of punishment. It's not a theory of punishment. It is simply a elaboration on the possibilities of causation. The chain of causation, the complex chain of causation will yield this cycle of birth and death, birth and death. Birth doesn't happen just out of the blue. Death doesn't dissolve into nothingness, right? There is a chain. But what is most important is you as an individual, your actions today, your thoughts today, your desires today going forward are contributing to that chain. Don't worry about what's already happened. That's already done. Don't cry over spilt milk. But develop greater and greater consciousness of the direction you want to give your life, because your life doesn't end with your death. Right? It's very important to understand. Especially the older we get, it's very important to understand your life doesn't end with your death. The opposite of death, life is not death. There's no opposite to life. Birth and death are opposites. Two ends. Actually, two sides of the same coin. Life goes on. So it's a very powerful theory. And see, more than proving, does it exist or not exist, I want you to take a moment to recognize what implications it has. It has implications on the way you think of your own life, no matter at what stage of life you are. It has implications on the way in which you make choices, the way in which you envision the consequences of your own thoughts and actions, right? So it's a very profound theory, and as I said, based in a certain logic. So the more you dwell on it, the more you think of it, the greater the conviction you develop in it, the more conscious you will become of what kind of person you're choosing to be, right? Regardless of your age, regardless of whether you're 20 or 40 or 60. Right? So your journey will go on, right? Take the right steps. Now, there's another concept in reincarnation about when exactly does reincarnation happen? Does it happen immediately? Does it happen after 13 days, 40 days, 90 days? God knows, right? Is it important? First of all, does it happen in the same world? Someone asked, no? I think Prachi itself asked. Humans are 7 billion, 8 billion. Where's all this coming from? Does it happen in the same world? Are beings from other worlds coming here? Right? So these are all questions to which there's no definitive answers, but we can make conjectures. We can make conjectures. Any theory has a lot of conjectures and strong conjectures associated with them. So here is one such conjecture.
There is also a powerful conjecture in spiritual lobbies that a person may not be reincarnated immediately after death. That is, causal subtle body may take a while before it finds the appropriate gross body and environment. The interim period after death and before the next birth would resemble sleep or dream. This observation again has certain validity since it is seen happening to other living species. The seed fallen from a tree is not always subject to immediate germination. An egg laid by a bird takes time to hatch. So too a human may experience a period of sleep or dream before his next incarnation. People the world over are unaware of the relentless law of karma. They entertain all sorts of desires indiscriminately, plunge into action in pursuit of their passions, thoughtless of the dire consequences, and end up with calamities in their life. Unaware of their responsibility for the misfortune, they bewail the stars and planets, blame everything, everybody in the world except themselves. In desperation, some go to astrologers, palmists, and spiritualists for help. Others pray to the gods to mend their fortune, not realizing that they have brought the misery upon themselves and that they have to redeem themselves.
So there's a powerful conjecture that reincarnation may take some time, and it's consistent with the analogy of a seed, right? A seed which falls from a tree, it doesn't germinate immediately, right? So here's where the concept of bhoots also come, right? Oh, these are souls stuck, without a body, and they will come and assume another body and all sorts of things. And of course, they make good, fantasy stories. There's sense to them, but I'm not going to say anything else, right? I don't want her to be going this evening, walking down around your house in a dark house and thinking, oh my God, God knows what ghosts are stuck in this, what subtle bodies are stuck out here. But we don't know. We don't know when and how immediate reincarnation happens. See, even among seeds, I don't know if you've had the chance to garden or do some farming. a tomato seed will sprout immediately, almost a couple of days. Try it. If you have a vegetable garden in your house and a tomato that's ripening, because it's relatively in our kind of weather, it is evergreen. Tomatoes can grow throughout the year, at least in certain parts of the country. So immediately a tomato will fall from the, a very overripe tomato will naturally fall from the plant, and generally some insect or something will eat into it, and that will cause the, the juice inside the seeds to ooze out, and then those seeds will, enter the ground. Immediately you'll see within a couple of weeks the tomato sprouts will come up. I've seen it happen. We've thrown tomatoes from the compost into a pile, and immediately within a couple of weeks, a cherry tree will only grow in a certain time of the year. In fact, in a very cold time, in fact, sometimes if you want to grow it in a controlled environment, you have to put it in the freezer and all sorts of things you have to do. There are hacks. Right? So depending on the nature of the seed, the incarnation might happen quicker, it might take some time, depending on the complexity of your own prarabdha. Right? It's like you're going to a restaurant. If only one person in your group, maybe you'll get a seat immediately. 2 people, you may have to wait 5-6 minutes. 4 people, 5 people, you may have to wait half an hour. You have a party of 15, please wait for 1 hour at least. How complex is your ask? How complex is your desire? Right? It may change the waiting time. Nature's algorithm may take time to place you in a conducive environment based on your own asking. Right? So that it differs. There's no fixed time for when a being, an individual, a soul is reincarnated. And there's no fixed time. It depends on the complexity of your own prarabdha, of your own vasanas. But generally, one can say for all, there is some time, because any seed requires some time before germination. Not always subject to immediate germination. So over and above everything, people are unaware of this law of karma. See, if you recall, again, for those of you who have studied Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 62-63, you may say, what is in a thought? How powerful can a thought be I'm thinking right now? Utsavji, how can it work against all my past resultant desires? Dhyayato Vishayan Punsaha Sangasto Shupajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kaman Krodha Vijayate. A single thought can snowball into a very, very, very strong desire. A strong desire can lead you to carry out a series of actions. A series of actions can totally turn your life upside down. It's impacting your karma. So the theory of reincarnation is totally consistent with what we call the chronology of action. A single vasana, a single thought. I don't know if I should share this. It's a little personal. I hope my wife does never see this again. But
you are lying.
But I'm lying. So when we were in the ashram, and we were all very serious students, because I was very serious sadhak. So I'm told the first year I didn't look or see anywhere. I was just so focused on my, on my studies. But there was different people in the ashram had, different responsibilities. So one of the responsibilities I had was I was a designated driver. Designated driver. So means I used to do some chores, take the car to Lonavala, and maybe buy some vegetables or buy some things from the market or for the ashram. So one day, the lady who is now my wife had an injury, and she had to go to Lonavala. And no other person was there available. Usually what they said, a girl and a boy cannot go alone for obvious reasons. Especially if you're in an ashram. You may think, oh, these students should be so well behaved. No, when you contain a desire for a long amount of time, it takes a little bit to. So generally, two girls had to go with the boy, or two boys had to go with the girl, something like that. So that day there was no one available, or for whatever reason, and then so it turned out that I had to take her to Lonavala. So still, I had to take some permission. So I went to our Pradhan, this wonderful gentleman. He's been in the ashram for 25, 30 odd years, 25 odd years. So he was the chief sort of, Pradhan. He was the discipline in charge in Pradhan. And so I went to him. I was like, I'm asking your permission to go or whatever. He said, be careful. A single thought. Be careful, the chronology of thought, chronology of action. I said, yeah. Here I am married 6 years. And at that point, I had no such relation with her. Single thought. A single thought can snowball, not only negative things. A single thought can snowball into it gives direction to your life. It can determine your entire life. So don't underestimate the power of thought. Don't underestimate the power of a negative thought, and don't underestimate the power of a positive thought. That's the core essence of the law of karma. That your collective thoughts, which you may underestimate their power of, have resulted in your present. And your present thoughts will determine your future. So don't cry over what's happened, but take charge, take control. You're not a victim, you're a creator of your future. You're not a victim of life. Right? So stop. And you might be curious, and you might have a lot of jigyasa. So you might go to an astrologer, or you might go to a healer, or you might go to all sorts of things. Now, you do whatever you want to do, but don't escape from the fact that you are creating your choices. Your thoughts are shaping your planets.
So, but in the same way, you always say that every person is helplessly expressing its nature. You're confident.
You are helplessly manifesting your past, the flood of the past.
So, how can you be control of that?
Who can contain it? See, please, in the same breath, we have said your prarabdha has an extremely strong force. So you have to be patient with yourself. But still, that single thought you put in to perhaps resist your prarabdha, to perhaps resist a tendency in you which you want to. Suppose, for example, anger. You are by nature anger. There's a lot of prarabdha of short temper. But a single thought, you may still continue to be angry. But a single conscious thought that, oh, I shouldn't be angry. Oh, I need to understand what is the desire behind my anger. Oh, I need to get to the bottom of this. A single thought, each and every day, it compounds into an effect where one day you will be able to control this very tendency of yours. So we only say that everybody is a helpless victim because very few people understand the power of purushartha, right? And we can't blame them. Were they lucky enough to have unlimited Vedanta classes?
Power of thought is so strong, it can make you and also it can kill you. You know, snake bites. 90% of the snakes are not poisonous. But anybody bitten by a snake dies just because he is afraid of, he is hurt. His mental makeup is that, oh, it is going to be, I am going to die. And he dies. And he dies. So thought is a very, very important, important part of our whole system.
Absolutely, it's perhaps the most important. So we say that people are a victim of their past simply because, yes, there is a flood of prarabdha, there's a flood of your past which influences your present, and people are not conscious / patient / have the luxury of making mistakes. Unfortunately, not many of them have access to classes like this where they are repeatedly told, uh, "Don't worry, don't worry."
You see, the live example is Gautam Buddha. Just one thought, and the whole thing changed for.
Correct. Exactly. So single thought can totally, you know,
He
if
saw a
it,
dead body and everything changed.
if it gets on the rails, patri par chad jaye, so it can take you on a different journey altogether. So yes,
Even,
your
even
past has an influence, but you also have a purushartha. Remember, both forces are acting upon you. So you are a victim of your prarabdha, but you are a creator when it comes to your purushartha. It depends on what choice you want to make.
even Lord Mahavir also only one thought of non-violence. See, it was great thought in him that changed the system of life.
Correct.
See, that thought is so important. Only
Absolutely.
one thought I'm saying, one thought.
Correct. So you have to redeem yourself. Hmm. You can go to Kedarnath and donate how much ever you want, and you should, but don't donate to with the hope that Maheshwara will redeem you. No, you have to redeem yourself.
No, but then what does that do?
What
Donating at Kedarnath, what does that do?
conversation? You have to pay Maheshwara for the work he's doing. Na? He's maintaining, he's ensuring that the cycle of nature functions. Right? Subscription fees. You are paying Maheshwara subscription fees.
उत्सव जी अगर हम सोचें
Then you'll pay Vishnu.
नहीं नहीं है कि हमारे हिंदू धर्म में रीइंकारनेशन का भी एक थॉट है तो हमारी धर्म में है बाकी धर्मों में तो नहीं है तो दिस थॉट इज आल्सो सो स्ट्रांग
Buddha, in fact, if you
has
go,
given us a hope
so
that you can carry something.
generally it is the two branches of religions. One is a lot of pagan religions have this concept of reincarnation, right? Whereas a lot of so-called Abrahamic religions do not have this concept. So whether it is religions born out of India, whether it is Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, they all have a concept of reincarnation. In fact, they are all the source is Sanatan Dharma, and even many other, God knows where a lot of these Native American religions came from. In fact, there's a gentleman by the name of Nilesh Oak. Whether you disagree or agree or can make sense of what he's saying, he's very entertaining to listen to him, and he presents some incredible evidence of the connections between, say, Indic civilizations, and even the influences it had on, say, tribes and people in, say, the Americas, South America, North America, right? So a lot of these so-called, native Indian or sort of South American civilizations, they also have various concepts of reincarnation, and you can almost link it to, maybe inspired from here, or sort of there was a cross-pollination of ideas over ages. But yes, it gives incredible hope nonetheless. It doesn't matter where it came from. It gives incredible hope to any individual to steer their life in a certain direction, right? So I hope this concept has been helpful to you. I hope you will dwell upon it. This is only the first time perhaps we've studied it in detail, but it requires a lot of your consideration. It's a deep thought. It's a deep concept. So hopefully we will come back again to study this. But for now, we will move on to the next chapter. So starting next class, we'll move into chapter 18, the theory of perception. The theory of perception. I mean, you may think, oh, where did this come from? Right. So as section 3, we are delving into the deepest philosophical concepts of Vedanta. So the law of causation was one such deep concept, and a little more philosophical, a little more mystical, is the theory of perception, right? It goes into understanding the nature of the world, questioning what is it that the world is, where, what role do our perceptions have in creating the world? Is the world merely an outcome of our perception? Is there a single world that every being sees? Or is the world actually just an outcome of one's perception, right? So things we don't think about on a daily basis, but things we should think about once in a while, right? Because it is quite incredible. The fact that we are sitting on a ball of mass hanging in space, that itself is an incredible mystery. We don't think about it enough. Nowadays, so much of pollution has covered our skies, we can't look up to the stars and think about where we are. So all these mystical, wondrous things are worth thinking about once in a while. And this is one such topic, theory of perception. So we will study it in the next class. So we'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.